Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
Talk to your athletes about the failure and how that's going to make you. That's part of it. It's part of the process. You are going to get your butt kicked in this sport. There's no way around it. Get used to it. Learn to love it in a weird, psychotic way. Like the ones that are really into it, like, dude, like getting your butt kicked every now and then. I don't know why it's taboo. Like, everybody fails. Everybody has demons. Everybody has struggles. Every single person. And we all try and put on this facade that we don't. And one of those spur of the moment things, like, fine, I'm in. So I don't care if I'm mopping the mats. And not everybody's that athletic. Not everybody's that strong. You've got some things that are out of your control, but you can make a choice to be gritty. You can make a choice to hustle. You never arrive. There's always ground to cover. And I can learn from anyone. Amazing. You can do anything. You can do anything. With passion, enthusiasm, excitement, and energy, you can do anything. I was just kind of a broken person and put myself back together, trying to chase some excellence with wrestling. This is Lee Roper, and you're listening to Airey Bros Radio.
What's up, y'all? This is Airey Bros Radio, and this is episode 97 with Lee Roper. You ready, Prince?
You kidding me, Richie Rich? We're talking college wrestling, we're talking chasing your dreams, and we're just having an epic conversation with Coach Lee Roper. You better believe I'm ready for this one.
Great conversation. Awesome to reconnect with Coach Roper. Last year when the Airey Bros took the road show up to the University of Northern Colorado to cover some wrestling, we had the opportunity to speak with Coach Roper. He was speaking our language back then. He's got an unbelievable journey getting into the college ranks. We figured we'd have him back on again, and my man does not disappoint. He speaks our language. I want to go out and do something right now, whether it's stance in motion or maybe go do some road work and run a few miles. But I love these conversations with these coaches and these people where when you get done, you just feel that energy. Like, it's better than a shot or two of espresso, and it's 7 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm just so fired up right now. So, honor and a pleasure to speak with Coach Roper again, hear everything that's going on at UNI in Cedar Falls. And yeah, unbelievable.
I double stamp everything you just said, Richie Rich. If you need some motivation, if you're kind of dragging your feet, listen to this podcast. Coach Roper is going to stoke your bliss. He's going to get you chasing your dreams. Just listen to this podcast. It's a great listen. Check out the show notes. If you like this podcast, let Coach Roper know you heard him on Airey Bros Radio. As always, rate, review, subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, share this podcast. Let people know about Airey Bros Radio. We have a whole archive of some epic podcasts, including episode 97 with Coach Lee Roper. As always, sit back, relax, enjoy this episode of Airey Bros Radio.
Yo, when you're done listening to this episode, click on those links in the show notes. Go give Coach Roper and the UNI Panthers wrestling team some love. Tell them that the Airey Bros sent you. Check out our premium content on Patreon. All the Airey Bros Daily Challenge stuff over there. All of the B-roll mixtapes from Airey Bros and Jules 2.0 is on there. And then our third tier, we offer our accountability coaching. You've got goals. Sometimes you need accountability. Get that work done. Airey Bros is here. Whether it's a text from me, a call from Jimmy, maybe we're both on you up in that ass one day. You're going to get that individual attention with that accountability coaching over on Patreon. So click on that link as well. And if you're liking anything we're doing here with Airey Bros, you getting any value whatsoever, you're learning about new wrestling teams, new workout philosophies, maybe you're fasting, maybe you're taking some new supplements, maybe you're putting some stuff in your water in the morning, who knows, whatever it is. If you're getting any value whatsoever, click on those links, slide us one of those digital heavy handshakes. Maybe you don't have 2020, 2021's been crazy, times are tough, money is tight. Maybe you're an artist, you want to do some work for us, value for value. We need some logos. Maybe you know some shit about computers that we don't know, or sound, anything. If you can offer us any sort of value whatsoever and you're getting a value for what we're doing, hit us up, let us know. We want to work with you. Until next time, this is Airey Bros Radio. Much love. Namaste from the boys of 1512.
I'll go all the way back to where it really started, man. So I had a pretty good college wrestling career, and I won a decent amount, but not to the level I wanted to. And man, that kind of tears a hole in you a little bit, probably more than I even realized when I got done. Because, man,
Where'd you wrestle,
really
Coach?
felt Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina. And man, they're doing awesome right now. John Mark Bentley, the head coach there, he was a high school coach actually when I was wrestling, but I worked out with him all the time. He helped me tremendously. Awesome man. You can see I'll start chasing that squirrel around talking something different. But anyway, didn't have the success I wanted to out of college. And man, it was my life, and it still is my life. And when you go after something and want something that hard and don't accomplish it, there's some damage there, and a lot more damage than I probably even realized. But ended up getting married out of college to a girl, and long story short, it was just the wrong girl. She had some stuff in her past I didn't know about. It pops back up. Life gets crazy. And I got this another hole inside of me because this woman that I loved and I promised I'd be with forever is gone. She just honestly took off one day. And man, you learn that life's not always fair and there's some things out of your control. So I got these two holes ripped in me, one from a girl and one from wrestling. And I didn't really know how to fix them, and went about it a bad way for a long time and just drowning some sorrows at the bottom of a beer bottle. But I'm around some really good people, man, and they got my head out of my butt pretty quickly with that pursuit. And I was really just trying to find what I was going to heal myself with. I wanted to get out of this black hole of depression or whatever it was, man. I had to get out of that thing. And wrestling had been a passion for so long of mine. And even though I had like a bitter taste in my mouth about it, I was like, wrestling's it for me. I don't know why. I search for the reasons. I pray about it. I meditate about why wrestling for me, why it's been a disease almost. And I don't know. I keep loving it, so I'll put in the time. So I just jumped into coaching, man. And really the obsession and the pursuit came from healing myself. I was a broken person, and honestly, I didn't even know who I was. You just didn't do a whole lot of self-reflection growing up, and man, I'd been pushed this way by this person's influence and this person's opinion. And I was just kind of a broken person and put myself back together, trying to chase some excellence with wrestling. And man, it happened at a great time that Flow Wrestling had just kind of popped off. And man, I'm just a guy that'll step over some bounds and just volunteer to help and show up and start filming. So I developed some relationships with those guys through Cliff as well. And man, that was my vehicle for getting better at coaching. It's a hard thing to do. It's there's not a book out there that you can read. So I was just watching every John Smith, Dan Gable, Brian Smith, Doug Schwab. Doug was wrestling at the time, but everything that I could get my hands on from these just people that I looked up to and wanted to be like so much. And Flo gave me that inside access. And really, I just started obsessing about getting better at coaching. And it was, man, most of my days were spent trying to get better at this sport and dumping into our athletes. And you start working hard, you start having some success with it. And then you really get better at your craft, and you got a plan, and you're able to develop some guys and got a reputation for good culture and good skills. And honestly, the college coaching job kind of came out of luck a little bit. I was a little bit bored with what I was doing with the compound and needed a new challenge. And Doug had been my guy for a while. So I hit him up saying, hey, where should I try and move this thing? What state should I do it in? And he said, long story short, if you're interested in moving somewhere, come to Iowa. We'll figure out how to get you a part of what I'm building. And it's one of those spur of the moment things, like, fine, I'm in. So I don't care if I'm mopping the mats, and loaded all my stuff up and drove to this frozen tundra of Iowa and been loving it ever since. So, man, it was, and I get into details if you guys want to hear about how I got better. It was something I had to figure out on my own, but really it came from obsession, from healing myself. I had these two big letdowns in life and just And there's so many stories like that, that incredible pain comes a whole lot of motivation to strive and do something excellent. That's what coaching became for me. It was a way to heal myself.
Well, Coach, you had mentioned that wrestling left a huge hole and a void because you didn't accomplish your goals, and I can relate 100%. And for the longest time, I didn't know I had this trauma from wrestling or these stuff that haven't taken care of and are just kind of lying there. How do you think as a community or as coaches we can kind of talk to kids about this or make it something that is easy to talk about? Because I feel like there's a lot of wrestlers that have a lot of stuff that they haven't taken care of, whether it be a loss or not achieving their goals, or whether it be a bad relationship with their parent because of wrestling. How do you think as coaches and the wrestling community we can kind of harness this, make it something we can talk about, and we can help people heal through coaching or other means through wrestling?
Well, I think in a way we're doing it right now, right? I think it's just to actually have the conversation and talk about it. I don't know why it's taboo. Like, everybody fails. Everybody has demons. Everybody has struggles. Every single person. And we all try and put on this facade that we don't. And I think as coaches and leaders, if we break that facade and we talk about the failures, even now that we have, like in our current life, not just what happened in the past, that guys get to see that life is full of failure, if you want to look at it like that. But really, it's just a lesson to moving on to the next thing that you look at. I mean, if you're a motivated person, you're never going to get everything you want in life. And I always talk to the athletes we have now, like, wrestling's a contradiction. It is a weird thing that we have to do. You have to dedicate your whole life to it. And I mean, just down to, like, you're thinking about what you're eating for dinner and how many ounces of water I have. It's just all consuming. I love it that way. It's great. But we also have to balance that out, that I'm probably not going to get everything I want. So yes, I'm going to obsess about it. And it's going to be everything in my life for this moment. But at the same time, I'm still just pursuing a sport. So the wins and losses, the NCAA trophy, the All-American plaque, that's just the extra. That's just the reward, right? And if you get to that level, that's awesome. But really what we're trying to do, and man, I try and talk to guys about this as much as possible. I don't care how old they are. Really what you're trying to do when you're pursuing that impossible goal, when you're climbing that impossible mountain, you're really trying to make yourself in the person that can accomplish it. The goal itself, it's very fleeting. Nobody's really going to care, for the most part, how many wrestling matches you've won. Nobody knows how many matches I've won. Not even my mom. She loves me more than anything. Nobody really cares that much. But the man you become, or the woman you become, when you pursue this just incredibly hard goal, makes you a hard person. And then you can go on to achieve something else in your life too. So I really think it's just having those conversations and not be embarrassed about them, and not make it some like traumatic thing. Like, yeah, you're probably going to hurt at the end of your wrestling career. If you think about it, how many guys win their last match? How many? Really? Have you ever sat down and thought about that? How many people win their last match? Not very many people.
Only half
so
of
most
them.
of it, that's it. Most of it is going to end in pain in this sport. And that's okay, man. That's okay. That's part of what makes it beautiful, that you learn a lot about yourself through the pain of it. And when that pain is there, it's like nothing's wrong. Like, you really went after it. The pain's real. Learn something from it. On the other end of it, when you heal that pain, it's just like a hard workout. You're stronger, you're tougher, you got better perspective from it. So I don't think it's as simple as having the conversations. I mean, mental health's it's a tough problem to tackle, right? But I think that's the place to start. Talk to your athletes about the failure and how that's going to make you. That's part of it. It's part of the process. You are going to get your butt kicked in this sport. There's no way around it. Get used to it. Learn to love it in a weird, psychotic way, like the ones that are really into it like to do. Like getting your butt kicked every now and then.
Yeah, we always say it's all about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you know, just like wrestling, you're gonna get your butt kicked sometimes. Same thing's gonna happen in life. You're gonna get your butt kicked sometimes. And as you mentioned, not everyone wins their last match, and so it's important for I think mostly for even college aged athletes, but it is about the journey, not the destination, and having that kind of perspective as you're going through the process and the situation, and even more so on the back end of it, keeping all of this in mind as you got into the college ranks. Did you find that there was you had to put more of an emphasis on maybe the psychological approach to coaching as opposed to like the physical technical side of it?
I won't say that you have to put more into it. I was just more aware of it, because in college that becomes one of the biggest differentiating factors of who has success and who doesn't, who's in the right mental space, to where I don't even call it lower levels, but younger ages, you can get around it a lot easier. The playing field's not even, I mean, even just look at puberty, right? Most of the time when guys are coming up, they're on a different maturity level. And that's really going to be the thing that'll take guys over the top the most. But when that evens out, practice partners, coaches, resources, all that gets even, your mental space is so important. So I won't say it's more important in college, but that was the first place it was very obvious to me how much I need to be working on crafting the way these guys think and their mindset, as much as their high crotch or single leg defense, whatever it is we're working on.
I was just going to follow up with that, talking about working on that, and wrestling fans, we often hear like, oh, that's the Iowa style, or that's the poke style. What is the Northern Iowa, the Schwab? Is it an amalgamation or a mutation of the Iowa style, or has he gotten away from that a little bit and it's the Schwab style or the Panther style?
Here's the genius in what Doug's doing. And one of the reasons I love working here is we're not building our style around something visual. You're not going to be able to watch a guy and be like, oh, they do underhooks, or they do high crotches, or they ride legs, or anything like that. His style is being built around the culture, which is on 3 prongs. It's be selfless. That really comes from his mom. That's a lesson he took from her that he thinks every human should have. Man, you got to be selfless. No matter, even if you've got just a little bitty thing in life, just the tiniest little thing, you have something. And if you have that something, you got to give it back to someone else. And I think that's one of the reasons we stay fairly healthy in our pursuit, because we keep that balance. You take a lot as a wrestler, but we're trying to give a lot back too. So that's the first one he bases it on, being selfless. And the next one's being gritty. Like, man, one of the things for me, that's what got me here. Like, I just won't quit. I won't give up. I'm just going to keep moving every day. I'm the old mule. Hook me up to the plow. I'm going to cover some ground. Hook me up again tomorrow. I'll go again. And we really think that's just can be the really differentiating factor for people. Not everybody's that athletic. Not everybody's that strong. You've got some things that are out of your control, but you can make a choice to be gritty. You can make a choice to hustle. And it's kind of the magic ingredient that I think for life too. And I know I identify with it, and that comes a lot from my dad. So grit's the second ingredient. The last one's being coachable, because we really want these guys to never think they've got it ever in life. You're always constantly trying to learn. You never arrive. There's always ground to cover. And I can learn from anyone. So being coachable too. And that's what he's trying to build the Schwab style around. It's not a skill set. It's not a move list. It's not even
lifestyle.
Yeah, it's about culture, man. Some things that'll carry on past guys' 5 years of eligibility. It's genius, man. Smart. That's why I'm up here.
Love it.
Can you teach an 18, 19-year-old kid to be selfless, or is that something they have to come into the program with?
No, you definitely can teach it, because we've had guys on different varying levels of it before. And listen, some guys buy in and they get it all, right? And that's what's the old saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like, sometimes I want to drown that horse and make him drink, right? Now, there's guys that frustrate you sometimes, but there's different varying levels of that when guys come in. But it's demonstrated and talked about so much to where if you really buy in, it's going to creep in. And no, you definitely can. I mean, one of the best feelings you have in the world, like chemically in your body, is when that oxytocin drops. And the easiest way to get somebody to feel it is just do a selfless act for no reason for someone else. And everybody's experienced it before, right? Those good kind of tears in your eyes, you tear up a little bit, you get that little tingle. That oxytocin's a strong drug, man. So getting guys to buy in that when they feel that, like really taking pride in someone else's success, man, we're wired that way. It's the only reason we still exist. And we didn't kill each other off way back in the caveman days when we were hunting each other with bows and arrows and spears and rocks. Man, we want to be part of a group and we want to help other people. It's in our DNA, man. All you got to do is tap guys into it.
I love it. So how's the season been so far? It's been an interesting year, to say the least. How have you guys pivoted and adjusted, and how's the the preparation been going as we head in here into Big 12s is coming up soon, and then obviously NCAs. You guys be satisfied with the way everyone's been working and training and performing, or what do you think?
Yeah, man, it definitely has been an interesting season. Like, man, there's just I'd like to say we've done it well, but I don't know if any coach, I'm sure everybody's lost it at some point this season. There's just so much that's out of your control, and we're all control freaks, man. You're wrestling at this level, coaching at this level. You're used to being able to control some things, even if it's another human. And there's just so much that's up in the air. But that's been frustrating. But man, it's helped me learn to let some things go and just what can I control? What can I have an effect on? And if I can't, like, I'm not going to waste any time on it. And once I got that under control a lot better, because I was frustrated for a while at first, I won't lie to you, some of the hoops we have to jump through, and man, it's hard to get out and wrestle. There's just so many regulations you have to follow now. Agree with them, don't agree with them, doesn't matter. It's just there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get out and wrestle. But once I got past that and was focused on what we can control, man, it's been such a fun year. I mean, we've got a young group. Like I said earlier, they're making a ton of progress just because the majority of our team's young. Freshman, sophomore, third year. We got a lot of young guys. They're covering a lot of ground. But two, I'm just starting to see some things that are different. I really think people are starting to listen and buy in. And I mean, the longer you do it too, the better you get at it. So no, we're getting better at communicating what it takes to win in college. And more importantly than that, the culture of how we're going to win and what you're going to get when you leave Northern Iowa, your time here. So man, I told the guys today, I haven't had this much fun and haven't been this excited in a long time. Now, I got to see some consistency with it. Like if it's this way in May and if it's this way in August and if it's this way in September and then 2 years from now, we could really do something special, man. But to illustrate it, I'll say this. So we have some days that are individual days. You get with your coach and you get in one-on-one time. Well, for the last few weeks, I've had probably 8 individuals in the morning, and they've all been scheduled by the athlete. It's not me going, hey, we need to get together, do some work. It's like, hey, coach, can you be here in the morning? Hey, coach, can you be here in the morning? We got some guys that are taking ownership of their own career and really listening to Doug and Randy and B-Rob and myself about what it takes to really maybe try and win an NCAA team title, to really try and put that. I mean, Doug's coached 7 of them, been on 7 teams. He knows what it takes. We got some guys that are listening, and man, it's a lot of fun. Hard for me to sleep at night because I'm so excited. I'm not getting as much sleep as I want, but man, you want to talk about, I'm excited. I got a fire burning in me hotter than it's ever been because I think we really got some momentum going towards something special. And it is so much fun right now. Look forward to going to work every single day.
That's a beautiful thing.
So, man, I'm so blessed that I love my job. I hadn't had a job in a lot of years. I've been retired for a long time. They just keep sending me a paycheck. It works out great.
It's that 401k.
I keep doing this, and I do it for free, and they just keep sending me a check. I'm not going to complain about it. Sure, sign me up.
Heck yeah.
Said it's been a fun year. Kids are chomping at the bit to get in those individual sessions. Do you think people have the mindset this is a free year? They're going to get an extra year of eligibility, so why not make the most of it? Who knows if we're going to get an NCAA tournament this year, so let's just make the most out of being in the room when we have the ability to be in the room.
You know, I never really thought about that before, but yeah, there's probably some of that perspective going on with guys, especially we had some guys that they were going to NCAAs with some high goals last year and they didn't get to go. So there's probably a little bit of that when they come in, but like, I'm really not going to take this for granted. I've had it taken away from me and think about that. But yeah, I'm sure some of that going on, but man, really, I really think we're having some guys make the decision that this time in their life is going to be about how good can I get at this sport. And I think that's why we're seeing a difference. And one, we're communicating what it takes better too. We're all getting better at our job. But I never thought about that. That's good perspective. I'm sure some of that's going on. Yep, free year, like don't hold anything back. There's nothing to lose. I can see that working with guys a little bit for sure.
And do you feel that guys are a little bit more fresh since there was no tournaments this year? Just you're doing the Big 12 schedule and then you have conference. So what is your thought on that, not having 30 matches going into NCAAs? Do you think it's better on the guys because they don't have such a long season? Or do you think there's something to having that long season and getting all the kinks out in those 30 matches and then going to NCAAs?
I mean, I definitely like having a few more matches, especially with a young group. There's some things you can't teach other than you got to send them out there and learn them through competition and those lessons that come with that. But I definitely think guys are more fresh, but I really don't think it's not anything physical. It's the stress. I really think that's what wears on guys. And while the season needs to be a little bit shorter, just season's so long and so spread out, and that stress is on them of their weight training and the stress of competition and living up to expectation and their own pressures, like going to class, 2 semesters, 2 sets of finals, really. There's just a lot of pressure and stress on guys. So I think having this delayed start second semester where you can kind of get in and get some momentum going at the beginning of school without having to go, man, we got to get on it right away that first day of classes. So I think that's taken some of the stress off guys, which is really what wears on you. I mean, the human body's incredible. Come on, people run a marathon every day for months, right? Like your body can handle it. It can. But the mind, that's what usually will crack first. And that's what makes the body fall off when you feel that stress. So I think that's why guys are a little bit more fresh, less stress, man. And that's something we're trying to do as a coaching staff too. How can we remove stresses from our athletes? Because that's really the killer. The stress is what wears on you. Felt that as we've gotten older and not as physical, right? Stress will wear you out.
Yeah.
My man sitting over there has run 100 miles 3 times at 10,000 feet, so he knows what it's about.
Yeah, I've got a goal. That's a goal of mine to run a 100-mile race in my life. I want to do that.
Oh.
I did a camp. Where was I? New Mexico. I did a camp down in New Mexico and just randomly ran into a guy that did ultras, and we ended up talking for like 3 or 4. It was just one of those, you've had them before, right? Just an amazing conversation in your life. Like I met that guy for a few hours. I'm gonna remember him forever. Just had a crazy story, and running ultras saved his life, man. And just something about that kind of resonated with me, right? Something a little bit crazy and really putting yourself out there kind of heals you. I was like, you know what? I got to experience that. I want to run a 100-mile race. I like doing nutty stuff too. So.
Well, yeah, when you're ready to take on that challenge in your life, give me a holler. I'll be happy to help and support. And I turned 45 on Sunday, so I went out and ran a mile for every lap around the sun on my own by myself here in Denver.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I definitely might pick your brain on some advice, man, when I really get in and start trying to do it. I definitely will.
Yeah, I mean, having that wrestling mindset is endurance sports is, some will say it's over 90% mental. So, I mean, coming from that wrestling grind, it's a pretty, the body types might be a little different, but for the most part, if it's what, like you said, it's the 3 inches between your ears. And if you have it in your mind that you want to accomplish it and do it, you're going to have no problem doing it whatsoever.
Man, it's so true. And I'll tell you, man, like what you brought up about like how I want to know about coaching and how I got to college, because I don't have the same background of everybody else, man. I don't have the NCAA title and All-American, something I'm actually really proud of. And that's one of the things that gets me out of bed altruistically, man. I want more people to know that they can do it just by, hey, I love this. I've set a huge goal. I'll outwork everybody and make this a huge part of my life. And you can start doing anything's possible, man. Anything is possible if you set your mind to it and you're willing to pay the price. I'm with you on that. The mind's an amazing thing. Amazing. You can do anything. You can do anything with passion, enthusiasm, excitement, and energy. You can do anything. Anything.
I love it.
Let's
well,
go.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind too, Coach, is that back home you got the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail. So you get that first 100-mile belt buckle, and you want to go on a walkabout. You got the start of it right in your old backyard there.
Listen, my dad worked for the Department of Natural Resources all the way growing up. So, man, I've been in the woods my whole life. There's been a few times that I've become pretty close to being a through hiker. I got a college buddy that, man, I think he's done it 3 or 4 times. So I've been pretty close a few times to hopping on that trail. But, man, I got a wife I love now and a good job. If I get on a trail, I might never get off. You guys never see me again.
You only need 3 or 4 months.
I just keep going. I'll just go up it and go back down it and go back up it. I just stay in the woods the rest of my life. Every time I go out west, like Oregon way, that's scared I won't come home, man. Love the outdoors. It's my second passion. I love it outside.
Are you a hunter?
No, I never did much hunting. I did a lot of fishing, but it's actually started really thinking about archery a lot. And I don't know what made me scratch that. So I started shooting a little bit, and so much harder than I ever imagined. And that's all I need. Give me a challenge and get those wheels spinning. So I think that's something that's coming down the line pretty quick for me. He's doing some bow hunting. But a lot of fishing, a lot of hiking, a lot of camping. Just like I said, grew up outside a good bit of my life.
You do any fly fishing?
I got into it a little bit right before I left Boone, and I'm so glad it was just a little bit because I felt that bug disease getting in my body. Man, I don't need more addictions. Wrestling's all I got. I don't have enough time. When I retire and I'm not trying to do this thing like I do it right now, I'm going to pick up fly fishing. It is one of the things that I'm going to get into in my life because I loved it for about 3 months, and I felt that disease starting to creep in, and I had to put that away. Jiu-jitsu and fly fishing, those are on the back burner. I can't go anywhere near them. They ruin my life. I got enough to do. I'm too busy.
Right on.
So, Coach, I think you said you had 8 individual sessions today, and wrestling is your addiction. How many times a day are you wrestling, or when you're doing those individuals, or you just kind of running guys through drills and stuff like that?
Normally, mainly running guys through drills during the season. I see things a lot better than I feel them. It's like Doug, he's a partner a lot. He feels things a lot better than I. Randy, same way. B-Rob, same way. They feel I see it a lot better. I just got way more reps doing the club thing, coaching young kids. Like I can't work out with a 70-pound kid, right? Not really, other than playing around. So I normally have another partner, but I try and wrestle every day. It's how I stay in shape. And I'm still learning too, man. I got positions I'm playing in. I'm really trying to get to know like Chirella Cradle from single leg. That's my position to study this year, different variations off of it. I actually found a way to combine what Sasso and Yanni do. They do it a little bit different. Found a transition. I can blend those 2 positions together. So I'm playing in there about every single day. But, yeah, on the mat a ton, man. I love it. I can't get enough. And you start having guys that get into it and push you. It's not even work. You don't care how tired or beat up you are. Just out there with them, loving it, man. Definitely beats a desk job. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you're a cradle guy, we got a special cradle from our hometown back at the Jersey Shore. We'd have to show you one time. I don't think I've ever seen it fail.
I love cradle. Man, I always tell guys my favorite move's the one that works. I love cradles. I scored the NCAA tournament for a few years. Every single match at the NCAA tournament, I would track what scored. And I thought I was going to find some trends, but really what I found is too small a sample size, and one guy can like skew things way out of whack. So you'd start thinking ankle picks are really coming in or inside reaches, and no, it's just David's Taylor time through, and he's scoring 7-8 takedowns a match. But cradles was one of the most pins of NCAAs every year that I ever scored it, and near side cradle. So it's the best way to pin good guys. I mean, think about most of the crazy upsets you've seen. There's usually probably a cradle involved somewhere in there. So I try and make sure everybody's pretty fluent in cradle positions.
Yeah. You mentioned the one-on-ones. We were talking about the one-on-ones. Was that something that has always been a part of the program, or is that kind of a pivot and adjustment with what's been going on the last year? And then, I would be a 125-pounder. So what would my like weekly schedule look like in the UNI room?
Doug's really big. Ever since I've been here, we've done a lot of individual work, and we've got a lot of different styles of wrestling. So really during team practice, we're working on fundamental things that everybody has to be good at. And those are our live wrestling days. So like your 25-pounder, probably 2 mornings, we're going to want you to come in on your own, whether you're with a coach or with a teammate. And you've got some areas you're working on, right? Maybe in your individual work, you're working on leg ride defense. And coach takes you through some things, and he gives you ideas, and he critiques technique. But really where you're going to make that yours is where you spend your own time. And you're going through that problem-solving steps in your own head without just, Coach, what do I do? Coach, what do I do? So we want them twice on the mat, pretty much on their own in the mornings. Lift 2 or 3 times a week, depending on what phase of the season we're in, whether we're building some strength or power or we're in a maintenance phase. So you got 5 mornings, you're usually in there doing something, whether you're lifting or on the mat. Team practices, we'll have 1 long scrap day, usually 1 situational day, 1 spar, and then 1 skill work. So that's usually what it looks like. We keep practice very short. Efficiency is something I'm really big on. That's one of the things I stressed when I got up here. Like, we've got this much work to do, right? And that can take 2 hours, or it can take 1 hour and 15 minutes. So really getting guys efficient at practice. We rarely practice over 1 hour and 25 minutes. I didn't keep as much records this year as I did last, but like 1 hour, 26 minutes was our longest practice last year. So we rarely have long practices, and it's more continually being in. Want guys in the room a lot. You run a 3-hour practice, you're probably not going to see a guy for a few days or get much out of him. So we try and keep it short and exciting, wanting them to come back. And we still have our long grinded out days where you got to get tough too, but we try and keep it fairly short and to the point and efficient. Just get them back in the next day. Consistency is what wins. Consistency.
Speaking our language, Coach, with that one-on-one type stuff, are they doing their one-on-one in the morning and then are you guys coming back in the afternoon for the team practice every day?
Yeah, normally that's what, especially our young guys, they'll come in anywhere from 5:30 to 10 o'clock in the morning. Then we'll have a practice 3:30 or 4, depending on, like I say, what time of year it is, to where we get together as a group, unless it's a whole team individual day, and then everybody's off on their own.
And as far as being on campus, because I go to UC Denver here and I'm a film and television student, so we're really the only ones on campus. There's not too many people on campus. Most of my classes are on Zoom a couple days a week, get to go to campus for hands-on stuff. What's it like for the guys there? Are they going to classes or are they taking most of their classes online at this point?
Most of the classes are online. Some of them are in person, but most of it's online. And when they do, it's masks, stay away from everybody, social distancing. You don't want to get contact traced out because you got to sit a while. So, man, it's really been this year is our guys are hanging out with our guys, and we try and keep that as much as possible. We've got our inner bubble, and we're just, especially now, trying to stay in that inner bubble as much as possible. We get tested all the time, and I'm just trying to stay around those people that are getting tested a bunch so nobody gets knocked out. And knock on wood, so far, we've been fairly lucky during our competition time. And I think our guys are doing a good job. Like I said, our guys are really starting to take it seriously, and they're going to try and do something special with the wrestling thing.
Talking about the bubble, some, depending on the school, depending on the campus, some schools are, after your freshman year, mostly everyone lives off campus. And then other schools that I've been at or campuses I've been on, the athletes, even beyond their freshman year, continue to live on campus, either with a teammate or someone within the athletic department. What is that bubble like at Northern Iowa? Do the guys live on campus? Are they off campus? Is it a mix depending on the grade level?
Yeah, our freshmen are on campus right now. It's everybody, all but one. All our freshmen but one are on campus, and everybody lives. You just got your groups of houses, right? So everybody's got their houses where they live with other wrestlers, and just trying to stay in those groups as much as possible. Because even back earlier, when things were a little bit more restricted, and it's loosened up in Iowa a fair amount to where we can practice as a group, but before we were in all our testing protocols, we would literally just have small group practices with their house, those guys that they were around all the time. So we'd have their house in for practice, and we were running multiple practices a day. Because, man, we got to put in the work, right? The NCAA tournament, Big 12 tournament still going to happen. They don't care about a pandemic. They don't care about any of those things. Those dates are coming. They're going to have All-Americans and national champions and Big 12 champs. We got to get ready for it. Whatever we had to do, making sure we were still inside the rules. I won't say we were bending or breaking any rules. We followed the regulations, but we still had to make progress. We still had to get better. And that's one of the ways we kept our guys from focusing on some of the negative stuff that was going around that time. Like, we've got a job to do, and that's life. Doesn't matter what's going on around you. You got a job to do. You have responsibility, and you've got to step up and make sure you make the most of it. So we've been preaching that a lot to guys, and hopefully they've been listening. Hopefully they have.
Is it hard for you as a coach, knowing that last year you guys lost your season, to kind of stay focused on the season, or you love this so much you're not letting that get in the way, and it just NCAAs are happening and that's the mindset?
Yeah, I won't say it's been easy, but it's definitely probably my coping mechanism that I just keep focusing on what can I control? What can I control? And it's just today. And got great people around me help remind me of those things, because I've lost my cool and lost my way. It's like I'm sure a lot of guys have during the time, but it's like, what can I control? And just let me focus on that. All the other stuff, I'll tell you, man, beating Oklahoma State's hard enough. I can't worry about any of those other things. Man, they're good. The team's good. Penn State's good. Iowa's good. That's a hard enough job, man. Can't worry about all the other stuff. Job's hard enough. Focus on that. Got enough to handle. That was for my dad. I was getting stressed out about some of the other stuff, and it's not fair and this and that. And he's like, hey, bud, don't forget how good Oklahoma State is. And I was like, you know what? You're right. They're hard enough to beat. Let's just focus on that. That's enough of a job.
I appreciate your perspective, Coach. That's what I tell Rich. I can only control the 5 feet in front of me, and anything I can touch. Anything beyond that, I can't control. I can only control my mindset. So
That's right. That's a great way to be. And I try and live that myself, man.
Yeah, I need to hone in on that a little bit more. Just focus on what I can control, because sometimes I have blown my top a little bit here in the last couple months. So I appreciate your intel and your advice, because I need to control what I can control. I worked with a wrestling coach a while back, and his when kids would always be like, "Oh, well, so and so is doing this or so and so is doing that," he would say, "Worry about yourself."
That's the truth.
So
And trust me, I've lost my cool with a lot of this stuff too. And it's just, I'm really good at learning hard lessons. Like I mess things up and then I learn the lesson after that. I'm pretty good at that. So that's been my pattern. I'm going to stick with it. I'll keep failing and learning after.
yeah.
If you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough, right?
Coach, I can't tell you. I have a good friend who says that to his 5-year-old all the time, and so Jimmy and I now say it to one another. It's so true.
Yeah, I tell myself that pretty much every day. I do something dumb and got to get tough by it. That's it.
Yeah. I don't want to go too far back down the rabbit hole or get into negative town, because we've got a great conversation going on here. But we were actually recording with Damian Hahn, who's from our area back home. Actually, literally, we got off the phone with him, and an hour later, the NCAAs were canceled last year. What kind of damage control? What was the mindset with the guys and maybe some seniors? Just briefly, if you could just kind of, again, talking about that psychology component where you have to come in and address this situation. I mean, how was that? How did the guys handle it? Was it rough?
Sad. It's rough. Yeah. It's a day you'll remember forever. And just, you're talking about years. Guys put years of their life into this moment. You have a few guys that are really prepared. You see the look in their eye, and you're like, they're ready, man. They're gonna have a good chance to do something pretty special that they'll remember forever and have influence on people that they want to influence. So that was rough, but immediately, like, you've got your own feelings. First thing I told myself is you can't feel anything right now. Like, you got to put your own thoughts, your own feelings on the back burner. You just got to eat them, swallow them, and be present. So all I was doing was just trying to be in the moment as much as possible, not say hardly anything, and just listen. Just listen for what the guys need. If that's quiet, if that's left alone, if it's something to beat on, whatever it is, just be there for the guys and be whatever they need. If they need somebody to steer them back in the right direction, do that. But just really try and be as present and pick up on as many clues, body language, their conversation that you can, and just be that support. Because I can't fall apart, and then they see that, and there's got to be somebody there that's kind of keeping it together, that's a little bit of a bedrock. So first thing I told myself is you got to swallow all those feelings and emotions you have. You deal with those later. You just got to be present for these guys, because that's the job. That's the way I looked at it. I got a job to do, and I've got to do my job. And that usually will get me around in the right frame of mind when I look at things that way. I had a job to do in that moment. And as much as I was hurting, as much as I was feeling, I've got to do the job well. That's when the job's really important, really important. So you got to be at your best then. So it was a quick meditation, a few breaths, and that's like, really be on point here. Because this might be the point where one of these guys really needs you, where they really need you. So that in a nutshell is kind of what that day was like. It was a lot of breathing and a lot of listening and a lot of patience and just trying to be there and be calm and as serene as I could be through it all.
Did you have a lot of seniors that were impacted last year?
Yeah, we were really senior heavy class. I graduated, 6 seniors, 5 of them been in the lineup about their whole career. All of them were ranked in the top, or all of them in the top 10 or close to it. Like, we had a really incredible senior class. Had number 1 seed, number 5 seed, number 10 seed, number 6. We had a bunch of guys that were really high up there. That was their NCAA. So that was tough with a group that had been really gearing up for that NCAA tournament, even though we tell them not to wait because you never know, but that was their shot, man. And they were ready, and not to have it. That was tough. It's tough on the seniors. Those guys have a special place in my heart forever because of what they went through. And most of them really handled it a lot better than I did when I got behind closed doors and I could kick, scream, and holler and throw stuff. So I was proud of their character, man. It really showed what kind of people they were. Very fine young men.
Nice. Yeah, I had this thought or theory that basketball hadn't even had their conference tournaments yet. So that was kind of a wash. But, the only championships I believe that still had it to go through were wrestling and indoor track. My thought was, well, at least give the people that qualified for the NCAA tournament, give them another year of eligibility. Like everyone else finished and completed their season. The seniors that got to NCAAs didn't get to finish their season. So they could have at least, in my thought process, could have given an extra year of eligibility, especially now knowing that they're giving this year as pretty much a free year of eligibility.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. It didn't make a lot of logical sense to me, but I wasn't in any of the decisions. You want to talk about something way over my pay grade? That's way over my pay grade. So who knows why they made the decisions they did? But I mean, I'm not shy to say I didn't like the decisions they made. I thought those guys deserved a shot at it too. Doesn't seem like too hard to say, all right, you get one more national tournament if you qualified and didn't get it. But oh well, what can you do, man? Just control what you could control.
Yeah, I felt for those guys. I don't know how I would have handled that if I lost college wrestling. I don't think I would have been too good to be around. So it's for those guys to be able to keep their head up and keep living their lives, power to them, because I know how much time and effort in their life they put into wrestling. Coach, you hear a lot of coaches, or at least I've heard a lot of coaches say when I was growing up, this sport will teach you things that will keep with you for the rest of your life, right? Life lessons through wrestling. And one thing I learned from wrestling was 80% of success is just showing up. Wrestling taught me how to show up. If I want to do something, I just need to show up, and I'm going to get pretty close to that goal. I might not reach it, but I'm going to get pretty close just from hard work and showing up. What are some of your lessons that you keep with you and that you hold close to you that you learned from wrestling?
That's a big question. Everything. Like the first thing that jumps off is really how to fail productively. Like so much of failure, the way people look at it, someone else's opinion, right? Well, really, what is failure? Well, it's really my definition of what I want for my life. So you're going to have that setback in wrestling, whether it's a hard workout or a tough stretch or just a match you should have won that you lost. And it really taught me how to take the emotion out of things, to analyze what caused it, and to go back and do something different. Do I need to change my practice habits or my diet or my sleep or whatever it is that you equate that momentary failure to, and you go back and have a different result of that. So that's one of the biggest things it taught me. It taught me how to fail productively. Man, it gave me an identity. It gave me something to really test myself against. You really don't know who you are until you get in some tough situations, until you get beat, until you fail, until you take the easy way out. It taught me a lot about myself and what I have inside of me. And then just, the confidence that wrestling gives you. I think the people that are in the sport really take it for granted. The majority of people go through their whole life without ever getting in any kind of altercation. I mean, even verbal, they run from it like the plague. And they don't know how to have conflict. Conflict isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Now, there's conflict that can't be bad. Well, we've gotten to the point where people disagree, and it's like, oh my goodness, they disagree. It's opinions. Like, what are we talking about? And being able to go out there and be in combat with someone else, where one person wants this, the other person wants that, and only one person's coming out with it, man, that's a lot of what life is to me. So being able to, if you want to call it competition, being able to compete, that's the thing it taught me. But just confidence in myself in those situations, that when things get tough, when it gets uncomfortable, you know what, I'm made of a lot more than I might have thought. And I think the people that are in the sport take that for granted. Just the confidence it gives you to go out and really fight a guy with rules. I mean, that's just, most people don't get that in their life. It just gives you a crazy amount of, whether you get good at it or not, you put a singlet on and walk out there in front of somebody, a bunch of people, and let's fight. It takes a certain amount of courage and confidence that I don't think a lot of people get to experience. So that's something I've been reflecting about, and I've actually journaled about it a lot lately, that I think we underestimate the amount of confidence, and more than that, the kind of confidence that being a wrestler at any level will give you, just to be able to go out and do this sport. Some great lessons in it.
With those things in mind, if you had, the DeLorean and you could hop in and go back to your, sometime in your high school career, maybe your freshman year before things really got rolling, is there maybe 1, 2, 3 things, pieces, nuggets of advice that you would give your high school self as a wrestler?
Oh yeah, buckets. But I didn't know what I was doing, man. I didn't know what I was doing until maybe like 6 years ago. I was just stabbing in the dark, man. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. That the one piece of advice that I would give myself is don't forget to enjoy it. Most of my competition career was, I'm just an obsessive person and I get focused on it, and I missed a lot of cool moments. And I'll tell you when I really got that. I've coached Taylor Lujan, he's #1 seed last year, didn't get his tournament. Incredible college wrestler, 100 matches, win, 70% bonus rate. Incredible wrestler, incredible person. But when his college career was getting close to ending, it made me just think back to how many great moments we've had. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to miss any more matches. Yes, I'm competitive. Yes, I want to win. But in a certain sense, the work's already done when you get there. So really enjoy wrestling Oklahoma State. I mean, that's a moment I've been working for personally for a long time in my life. If you'd have told me 10 years ago, be like, hey, one day you're going to coach against Oklahoma State, I was like, I hope so, but probably not. I hope that's true. And like not to miss those moments. Because yeah, you do all the work and you get caught up in the process, but just not to skip it, man. I missed a lot of cool moments competing and a lot of big wins. I should have enjoyed more before I moved on to the next one, which is kind of the way I'm wired. So that'd be the advice I give myself. It's going to be harder than you ever imagined. Prepare for it. I don't know if you could. It's going to be harder than you can ever imagine, and don't forget to enjoy it. It's probably the only things I'd say. And just go get them, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. I would have told myself to do more pull-ups and some rope climbs with no legs.
Yeah, more hand fight, more setups for me. If I had to do more takedowns in college,
I'm right
I'd be
with
in
you,
good
Coach.
shape. Just whatever I could do to get on top. That was pretty much my whole style of wrestling. Need to get a little better on my feet.
Yeah.
And so when you are coaching against Oklahoma State and the match is over and, you're walking, you're doing the handshake thing and, you walk in and you see John Smith and you shake his hand. Do you turn around to Coach Schwab and ask him to pinch you?
I do that before I get there. I just look across my desk and I see Coach Schwab sitting there and I'm like, freaking pinch myself. Listen, man, something I'm trying not to lose, even no matter how long I do this. If I'm a college coach the rest of my life, I'm trying not to lose being a fan, because that's part of what makes me good at my job, how much I love this. Every time I get around those guys, I'm not kidding. It's just, that's Dan Gable, that's John Smith, that's Doug Schwab, there's Terry Brands, that's Kerry Colott. Like, these are people I've looked up to for a long time, man. And it's just a cool thing to be in the same arena as those guys. It's a thing that I can really draw some confidence from and be proud of. Like, I've looked up to those guys a long time, and you know what? I'm getting there. I'm getting to that level. I'm getting to where I can compete with them. And there's a cool moment of pride. But no, every time I see somebody like that, I'm like, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I got here, but I'll take it. I love it. It's great, man. So yeah, just seeing a lot of people that I've looked up to and admired for a long time. And then for the most part, 9 times out of 10, they're just phenomenal people too. So you get to know the guy behind John Smith, and you want to talk about just an incredible, hard guy, hard man. I mean, he's hard, man, but just an incredible guy, true to his word. Like, you just really start to find some people you respect. And then when their accolades match their character, it's like, man, I'm in the right sport. Say it all the time. Wrestling's got the best role models. We've just got to do a better job marketing them.
Yeah. But I think if there's one, we always try to, as we've been doing this podcast and we have another podcast that we do, we always, especially in the last year, really been trying to hammer and focus on the, the positive aspects of everything we're doing. I think that's such a huge thing is focusing on those positive things of, man, I get to be around all these amazing people and I'm wearing the purple and gold. Like it's unreal. You mentioned being a fan and you mentioned John Smith. We're talking about John Smith. I did a deep dive on the Wrestling Changed My Life series on the Smith brothers, and talking about how hard he is and how he tried to live such a simplistic life, but that also leads down the rabbit hole of trying to find old John Smith and Pat Smith videos. As a fan, do you have like go-to old school matches that you go to pull up, whether not even just to look for techniques and stuff, but like these are the matches I like to watch when I'm having fun?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I go through phases where I'm like watching different guys, and man, how much wrestling I've watched in my life, I don't have a clue. It's one of the things I do to enjoy. But yeah, I definitely have guys that I go back to and watch all the time. And man, there's just so much on the internet now that you can't watch it all. So great. I got a few favorites that I go back to. It's like every few years I try and go back and I watch the tee out and be like, am I good enough to understand what this guy's doing yet? Like, no, not yet. Still don't know what he's doing. Got to go get better. So I've got my guys that I go to. I'm actually same way. Listening to that Smith documentary, I'm going back and watching a lot of John and Pat, but more in college than I've watched their Olympic stuff a lot. I'm trying to go back and find more matches of when they were in college, especially with John, because there's not a ton out there. He's always known for his low single, of course, and his pull high crotch, which to me might have even been better in his low single, which is crazy to think about. Man, I didn't realize till I got in and really did some deep dive how good he was on top. John Smith was a hammer on top. He turned a lot of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm constantly going back and watching. And my wife works at the Dan Gable Museum now, so I've got this incredible archive of footage that I can go into and just really nerd out on some wrestling at that place. So I don't know why, man, but I just keep getting lucky with this wrestling thing, and I'll take it.
That's awesome. I was watching John Smith versus Joe Melchiori before we got on here, and he's a former Jersey guy. He was a 3-timer in New Jersey. And so just to watch him, but then also just watch John put it on him pretty good. I think the final was like 8-2.
So good, man. So technical, such good timing. It's one of those guys that kind of made it look easy. And that's when you know a guy's at just a whole nother level. I mean, you think about Kel Sanderson, his last 2 years in college, just made it look easy, man. And that's a level of mastery that's truly impressive. I just watched the Tiger Woods documentary not too long ago, and just how easy he made just the most impossible golf shots look. That's a level of mastery that we're all striving for. When you can make the impossible just seem absolutely normal, mundane, that's something to really shoot for.
And being a wrestling fan, are you a wrestling shoe head? Or are you into wrestling shoes?
No, I never really got into that a whole lot, man. I had a bunch of the guys I coached, especially younger, that really got into it. And Fretwell, that dude's got so much style, he can't help it, man. He's got all the great shoes. That's just who he is, man. He's got that style. He's got the swag. He's got it. So he had a bunch of shoes. That's not me, man. I'm a simple dude, and the only reason I've got any clothes that look halfway decent is because Cliff designed most of them, or my wife bought them. I'd be wearing a purple T-shirt and sweatpants every day. I'm just not that guy. But I get it, man. I've had some nice shoes before, and I've got my favorites that I go back to. But it's not like the rare ones or the expensive ones. It's one of the Dan Gable shoes. I don't know if it's the 4. I'd have to ask one of the guys what number it is, but that's my favorite pair of shoes, and I try and get a pair of those all the time. So I've got my favorites for comfort, but not for style. I mean, look at me, man. I'm ugly. I ain't improving much over there. Wear whatever feels good on my feet.
What are the guys from UNI wearing?
We're a Nike school, so most guys are some kind of Nike, and most of them, the Freaks and whatever the other one is, most of them go there. The new ones they tear up a little bit quick. Few guys like them, but
is that the Flyknit one?
Yeah, whatever Tawas, I think they're
Yeah.
called, whatever the new one were. They tore up a little bit quick, but yeah, most guys got a pair of Nikes that they like. But being honest, most of them are either Asics or Adidas if they really had their pick. But it's part of being a college athlete. You got to wear the Nike stuff, for us anyway.
All Nike all the time. One last thing, Coach, you a Halloween guy?
No, man, I'm not even really much of a holiday kind of guy. Like, I don't know how I wrapped it up, but like my wife and I, we don't do presents on birthdays or anything. I'm just listen, I'm kind of a contrarian. If people go right, I'm going to go left. I'm just kind of wired that way as it is. So I've got that going. And two, like, one of the things I learned from being in a bad spot for a few years of my life that every day I try and make special. Every day's a holiday. So when the holiday comes, it's just another day, man. I'm going to have just as much joy and excitement as my heart is someday on a calendar. So I'm not really that holiday kind of guy for anything outside of getting together with some family on a few of them when you get days off. But like Valentine's coming up, come on, man, that's not a real holiday. We don't do that around here. Give me a break. I don't do holidays.
The reason I was asking, I was just going to say, all we got to get you is like a big pair of plastic aviators, and you're Dave Schultz.
I've gotten Dave Schultz and Casey Cunningham a lot. I've gotten both of those. My beard was longer one year at NCAA's, and everybody was coming up, and Penn State was doing awesome. I was like, man, you guys are doing great. And it took me so long to figure out. I was like, we're not doing well, guys. Why you keep coming up and saying we're having a good tournament? We're doing terrible. But everybody thought I was Casey Cunningham. I found out later because actually somebody finally called me Casey, and I was like, oh, I get it. So I've gotten those a lot. I've gotten Schultz a lot and Cunningham a lot. I'll take both of them.
Yeah,
both those guys, incredible wrestlers, incredible coaches. So I'll take that all day long.
Right on. One last one before we get into rapid fire. What happened with the team point for the sweatshirt?
Oh man, I'm gonna be nice and say that there was an overzealous official on a rule he was wrong on. I mean, Doug wears it all the time. I've got one that I wear that's exactly like it. And the rule's talking about like sweats. That's what's in the rule, but can't wear sweats on the side. And it's got a hoodie on it, but it's a zip up nice sweater. It's a nice sweater. And the guy came over, and it was one of the more silly things I've experienced. To worry about what Coach Schwab's wearing on the sideline. It was perfectly fine, but that's what it was about. Just the guy was really excited about a rule book interpretation, I guess. It was strange to me.
Yeah, I just saw that there was a little bit of chatter on wrestling Twitter about it, so I figured we had you on one. Because like I said, I coached both at the high school level and the college level, and sometimes, like you said, there's for whatever reason, an overzealous official who kind of forgets what their purpose is and why they're there. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to remind them you're here for the kids and the athletes, and let's focus on that. And
to enforce clothing regulations too. But get it, it's in the rule book, I guess, but he wasn't right on. We got that team point back. Doug got it back. That's the thing with Doug too. If he's going to lose a team point, he wants to earn it. He was mad. He's like, at least let me throw something or pitch a fit to get a team point going. Just sitting here on the side, lose a team point.
It's right? 12 degrees outside.
Yeah, come on. I was just a misinterpretation. It was one of the more strange things I've seen. Okay. I was just like, didn't know what to say. That didn't happen to me very often. I was like, you're taking a team point for what?
And that was before the match the match even started, right?
Yeah, it was 2 matches in, I think. Okay. Is when it happened. I know the rule book pretty well, and I was like, I don't know if this is right, but been wrong before, so just rolled with it. Doug got it back. He got that team point back.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like the next day, right? Yeah.
So to add on to that, Coach, and I think I know what your answer is going to be just based off of everything you've said in this conversation. How do you deal with refs like that when you can kind of see a ref's just kind of throwing calls or hitting a kid for stalling when he just took a guy down and there's no way he could be stalling? How do you keep your cool in those situations, and how do you remind the athletes to keep their cool when maybe a ref is just taking the match from them?
So here's the secret. You reach under your seat, and it's not really Gatorade in that bottle. It's got a little vodka in it, so you just chill yourself out. No, I'm kidding. That's control what you can control, man. And it's a tough thing, and, like, you got to know – it's something I still try and work about and ask Doug about, like, when do you fight for your guy and when do you just let it go? It's a hard thing to know when to do, and it's something I'm still trying to get better at and know when I need to stand up and fight for it, just to let the ref know that's it. You're not going any further than this. Probably not going to get the call changed, but here's the line. You're not going any further. And when you just let it go. So how do you deal with it? The best you can. I'll say that. Best you can. And
deep breaths.
I try and put myself in their shoes too, because for the most part, most of them are really trying to do a good job. They're not out there. They're not vindictive. They're not trying to hurt. They're trying to do the best job they can. So most of the time, unless I lose my cool, I'm trying to stay out of the way. I don't want to make their job harder. And get into some communication skills. You know what? There is a way that you can ask a question to an official and not put him on the defensive. Like going up, I changed the way I do challenges because it used to be confrontational, right? Now it's dumb right from the start. Then it's who's right, who's wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. That's a bad way to go about it. Nobody likes admitting they're wrong, especially if they're on TV. So what I did instead is I would just go up and toss a brick and be like, hey, that happened really fast. I want you to be able to watch this in slow motion. Just go in, you can watch it in slow motion. You know the rule book, like make your call, but I want you to be able to slow that down so you can get it right. You just start getting a lot more overturned going that way. So a lot of it's in how you approach the situation and what kind of language and verbiage you use. So asking my dad a lot about it. My dad is one of the best people at like de-escalating situations. So picked his brain on how to do that some, and just try and be as patient and as calm as you can. And things tend to work out better that way than when you make it a fight right off the bat.
Was there a lot of that from when you started at UNI, just kind of getting used to the college atmosphere?
Yeah, I'll probably say it's kind of a culture a little bit too. Like, and it's a battle. I mean, I get it. I understand why it happens. It's like you're looking for every advantage you have. So a coach is on an official, the other coach is on official. Which way does it go? Which way does he lean? Is he going to be one of those guys that fights back, or is he one of the guys that gives a little bit? So I know why it happens, but that's kind of the culture. Coaches get on the officials pretty hard. They're looking for every advantage they can. So I understand why it happens. But yeah, it took a little while to get used to that. It's way more aggressive than what you'll see in high school or youth for the most part. I mean, you'll see it some, but it's not as common as it is in college, how tough coaches are on officials. That took a little bit of getting used to.
Coach, we got a couple rapid fire here. These are maybe not rapid fire answers, but it's a similar set of questions we asked all of our guests. And I know this first one's going to be a good one because we've already talked about meditation. You've talked about your journal. You talked about doing some breath work. So what is your daily practice or your daily routine that, sets you up for success, allows you to level up and be the strongest version of Lee Roper that you can be every day?
I'm glad you asked that, because that is the key for me. I've had a morning, it's been different, but I've had a morning routine for over a decade now. And and I'm talking 99% of the days I do it. I try and do it every single day. First thing I do, I wake up, take my dogs out, let them do their thing. And that's just I just try and enjoy it as much as I can. It's so simple, right? They're just out there enjoying running around, smelling things. And I just try and enjoy that with them. So no matter what happens in my day, no matter how bad it is, my day started off with something pure and positive and simple. And I try and enjoy that as much as I can. So depending on the weather, when it's -12, the hike gets real short, but spring and summer is fairly long. We stay outside for a while. Start my day with that, program my coffee so it's ready when I come back in. I caffeinate myself heavily. I love caffeine. It's a performance enhancer. It gets me going. So get my coffee in the morning. Then I get in my journal right after that normally. I've got an Ernest Hemingway habit where whatever I'm journaling about, whether it's a problem in my personal life or with the team or technique or what it is, I do some of it at night and I stop halfway through. Then I quit thinking about it. I go to bed and I finish it the next morning. And just heard people talk about your subconscious, how powerful it is. And it's an easy way to get things working on a problem. And we've all been there before. Like you're trying to remember this name, right? And you can't get it, or a problem, and you quit thinking about it. It's like, boom, there it is. So I do that in my journal. And then depending on what day it is, you got different things that I try and get better at. So maybe it's like a day I'm working on communication and I'm thinking about how I can communicate either philosophy or culture or technique or just an idea, how I can communicate it better. You've got recruiting day, you've got team needs day. I've got a planning day early in the week where I try and plan everything out. And then Friday, I chase my rabbits. Man, I'm easily get distracted and I'll just dig into something, and 3 hours later, I'm still into it. So I got a little notepad by my workstation in the mornings. And if something catches my attention, like there's Giandri Garzone match I ain't seen in a while, I'll write that down and I'll go back to it on Friday. So Friday's my kind of screw around. If I get to something productive, awesome. If I end up watching YouTube videos of cats doing backflips, you know what, that's okay too. So I just kind of I get in the weeds and chase wild things on Friday, but I got something that I try and work on every day. And that used to be different. I used to have my day segmented. I'm just better for one kind of focus for the day. And that's normally about an hour and a half. And then I go into the office and we've got work to do, whether that's individuals or team practice or whatever it is, paperwork, you got stuff to do in the office.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I've got a Bull Mastiff, a Staffordshire Terrier, and a Siberian Husky.
What are their names?
I knew I met the right woman when she had a Siberian Husky named Sanderson. It's a little weird because I got a dog named Sanderson in my house and I coach against the guy, and she's got too big of an infatuation with Kale Sanderson. Maybe might even borderline on a crush. I'll say if I'm watching Penn State film, she'll watch it with me in a hurry. I promise you that. When's Kale gonna pop up on the screen, huh? But she gives me a hard time about all that. But I knew I married the right woman when she had a dog named Sanderson. Because my wife's as much into wrestling as I am. We're crazy about it around the house. It's about all that happens around here.
Is she a Southern girl?
She's a Southern girl.
Yep.
Like she, when I moved up here, I thought we were pretty serious, but I thought that'd be the end of our relationship. But she's she knows what she wants, and when she knows she's going to get it, about a month and a half later, she said, "I'm moving to Iowa." Not can I move to Iowa? She's like, "I'm coming to Iowa. Make room." And she came up. We got married a few years later.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
One of the best decisions I ever made. She's a great woman.
And what are the other two's names?
I've got Greco. He is my Staffordshire Terrier. He's about lazy. He's useless. And then Helen is my Bull Mastiff. That's Helen Marulis. My wife named her after Helen. Nice. So we've got wrestling names for our dogs. Always will.
And are they all Southern dogs, or is there an Iowa dog in there?
The Bull Mastiff's the Iowa dog. She's the youngest. She's 3 years old. She's into everything. Tears everything up. She's a handful.
Coach, you said you are highly caffeinated. How do you take your coffee? How do you brew your coffee?
It depends. I've got one cup I do very, very precise. I got into it a few years ago. I don't do a whole lot in my life. I don't have a lot of hobbies. So whatever I'm into, I try and do it really, really well. So I've got a process for my cup, right? Certain temperature. And it's just a routine you go through, right? It's just cathartic. You get in your routine, you make your coffee the way you like it. And then I brew a pot, and we got just a normal coffee pot at home. That's my big coffee that I do. So then I'll hammer down about 48 ounces of that real strong, but try and make one cup, really nice coffee, try and do it really well.
Is that like a pour over or French press or?
Yeah, pour over. And then I got an AeroPress that I do it with. So get a little.
Speaking our language, Coach.
Yeah. And then we've got a really good coffee shop up here, Cottonwood Canyon. They'll order stuff for you if you want. So I'm on this Madagascar blend right now that they got me. I really like. Was Ethiopia for a while, but I can't remember the name they have it. But it's from Madagascar. I love it. It's a little bit lower acidity, and I'm enjoying that a good bit.
You like
said that was
guy?
Cottonwood?
Cottonwood Canyon. That's
Cottonwood
the
Canyon. Okay. So we have a friend that's a little bit more into coffee than we are. And his recommendation is to use distilled water. Mm-hmm. And then there's a company called Third Wave Water, and they make an effervescent tablet that whatever minerals or whatever in it gives it the right profile that's really going to pull out and accentuate all those notes. So when you see on the bag, it says like, monk fruit and caramel or whatever.
What's it called again? Third
Wave Water.
I'll have to check this out now.
Yeah, so he says it really helps pull out the notes that are listed on the bag.
I need something else to obsess about, so let's really get into some coffee here. I'm with you, man.
I really appreciate everything that you've said today, because I don't really have that many hobbies either, but the things that I'm into, I'm really into. And sometimes though, as I've gotten older, I feel like I need to have more hobbies. Like I need to go make a table, or I need to go to a painting class or something. But hearing you and your perspective on everything, it makes me feel like I'm doing all right. Just keep doing what I'm doing and enjoy the things that I'm passionate about. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I combat in my head, and it might just be justification, but people tell me all the time, like, you're missing out on these things. And you know what? I am missing out on a few things. By only having a few things in my life that I really focus on, I am going to miss out on some things. But I also would miss out on some of the things that have happened by taking something very, very deep and getting very, very good at it. So you're going to miss out on some things one way. You're going to miss out on some things with the other. So that's how I combat it out, man. No matter what I do, I'm going to miss out on some things. So I'm going to take this wrestling thing as far as I can, and all the other stuff I miss out on, all right, I'll deal with it.
Love it.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Podcasts, music, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
I either cycle back and forth between podcasts and audiobooks. I quit listening to music a while ago. It just wasn't efficient. So if I was listening to music, I might as well be listening to something to help me get better at coaching. I don't really listen to music to enjoy it, really. It was just filler. So I just started putting on books and podcasts, and now it's part of every day. I've got something I'm listening to. So big fan of Joe Rogan's podcast, depending on who he has on. Sometimes he has on guests I like more than others, but normally if it's somebody that I really like, I'll listen to it a few times, take notes on it. It was Tim Ferriss for a while. I definitely go through books on tape. Like somebody makes a good recommendation, definitely pop that in. So it cycles back and forth between podcasts and books. Every now and then for enjoyment, you'll get in like a hardcore history. I'll jump into something like that. Doesn't have to do with wrestling, but I find very quickly that I'll get tired of that and it steers me back around towards something coaching related. But every now and then I'll get a break and get into something history related.
Do you have a particular time period or aspect of history that you like or enjoy?
I wouldn't say that I have a particular favorite. I enjoy thinking about how life was different. Like how different was life back then? What stresses, what worries did they have? What would it be like coaching back during those times? Just anything to give me a different perspective. I really think that's the most powerful tool in human existence is how you can shape your perspective. So that's kind of what I use it for. You learn about other times. You try and put yourself in those situations. And I'm telling you, most of the time when I put myself back in the past, I'm like, yeah, I'll stay right now. I've got it pretty good. I don't need to go back there and deal with when life was really crazy and really bad and really terrible. So got it pretty good right now. I use it for that a lot and just enjoy it. World War II, I was a fan of that for a long time. If I had to say one, probably be that time. Just I got a lot of good memories of my granddad talking about being in the war and people he was around, and he was a huge guy in my life. So probably World War II if I had to pick one. I like it all.
Cool. What's on the playlist in the room? Is there music during practice time? And if so, what's on the playlist usually?
Well, it depends if Doug gets in there or not. Doug doesn't use music a whole lot normally, but if the guys have it, it's whatever they're listening to. Most of it's really terrible. Occasionally a guy will put in a good playlist with some good classic rock or something like that. But for the most part, it's just really bad, terrible stuff that I block out.
I hear you. I remember those days of coaching kids. Every once in a while, you pick up on something new that's not terrible.
Every once in a while, you'll have something that'll get catchy. But I tell you what's bad, when a really bad song gets stuck in your head and you can't get it out of your head at night. Man, I want to punch those guys when it happens. Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's just background noise for me. I always had it at the compound. It's a good kind of distraction for me. But it's whatever the guys want to listen to. I don't really care. Doesn't matter to me too much.
Cool. And last but certainly not least, this is one we get into. We put on our tinfoil hats and we go down rabbit holes. If there's anything that you ever, maybe on a Friday, you find yourself on a rabbit hole on YouTube, do you have a favorite conspiracy theory? Not necessarily that you believe it or anything, but is there something that you get into or you would love to know the truth about?
All of them. You kidding me? I love going down those rabbit holes. And yeah, it's not like some of them are so far-fetched you can't believe in, but it's fun to kind of pretend like what if, right? No, for me right now, it's aliens, man. And my brother's really high up. He was a rocket scientist for a long time, just stepped down from his position. That's what I want to ask him. He's really high up in the government, but like, just give me a nod or give me a shake, and that's all you got to do. Are we alone? That's the one for me right now, man. I can't get enough, especially with the Pentagon putting stuff out. And I love the alien stuff. Want to know if we're by ourselves here, which I don't think we are, but hopefully it comes out and we know for sure soon or not. That's my favorite one to go down. Love getting into UFO alien stuff.
I love it. You ever get in down with the planet Nibiru and the Anunnaki at all?
Yeah. I've been down that rabbit hole before and gotten into that. Like I can say, man, I've chased some things pretty far down, and I like taking things deep and thinking about it a different way. Even if I don't believe it, it's fun to follow a path down a different side and think about life a little differently. So yeah, man, I get down a rabbit hole in some conspiracy theories in a hurry for sure.
Awesome. We love it. We never know what we're going to get with that question. Some people like yourself are happy to share. And again, I've trying to learn how to word it properly or preface it properly, because sometimes people just think that if you say something, it's going to be misconstrued, that you automatically believe it. Or it's like, no, we just like alternative thinking, and maybe like, what if we aren't alone? Like, let's just kind of romanticize about it and think about it, and see where we can go. Have you ever had an experience
No,
or
I
anything
never.
that may make you think you believe?
No, never have. Other than, man, I'm a big nerd. I've been a math and science guy for so long. So you're just starting to get to know about how big and what the probability is, and be like, probably going to happen. So, man, approaching it from that standpoint, sure. I mean, but never had any experiences myself or made me wonder, other than, and that's a lot of space out there. And it might not be like us, but there's got to be some other life out there at some point. It's just too much space, too much out there, more than we can even imagine.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing you said about having to word that question differently. Man, that's one thing that bothers me. It's like we've gotten in this thing to where everybody has to believe the same things. These are just opinions, right? Who cares if you really believe it? It doesn't have any bearing on me. You can believe the most outlandish thing on the planet, and it is not going to affect my day one bit. Why does it matter what you believe? It's fun to have those conversations. Just imagine if everybody believed the same thing. Life would be so boring. We're losing one of the greatest things in life. It's having a conversation with someone that believes someone different than you. There's hardly anything that I enjoy more than that. But people think it's like confrontation in a fight. It's not. You have your opinion, I have mine. Neither one of us are going to probably change our mind. Let's just talk about it, look at things from a different side. And that's just going away, man. And I hate it. I think it's one of the most enjoyable things in life. And more than that, how else do you learn other than listening to someone else that's saying something that you either don't know or don't believe? It's the only way you can learn things. I mean, we've just got to be able to put ourselves in situations where I can listen to somebody. I don't agree with a word he's saying, but I can try and take something from it just because it's an opinion. I mean, too much judgment all around from that stuff. Somebody believes one thing, I believe in aliens, I'm a bad person. Like, come on, man, it's that silly, right? It's that silly to think that way. Whatever somebody believes, like, cool, man. Like, you're probably crazy. I'm not going to invite you over to my house, but it's cool you believe that. Like, awesome, you do your thing. There's too much of that going around, man. We just need to believe what we believe, let everybody else believe what they believe, and just get on with life, man. Find something, go pursue it. All this stress over opinions, give me a break. There's other things to worry about.
Coach, you're speaking our language. Really appreciate your time. Love having this conversation with you. It was an honor and a pleasure. So thank you for coming in right from practice and taking some time to chat with us. We really appreciate you.
No worries, guys. And I hate, man, it took me a long time to get back with you. It's just a busy time. But, man, don't hesitate to reach out. Do it again, man. We'll get on a conversation. We'll take it down one of those conspiracy theory rabbit holes. You guys teach me something. How about that?
Definitely,
Coach,
definitely.
no need to apologize. Completely understand you're in the middle of your season and you got a lot going on, so that's fine. Have you listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with Travis Walton? It was like a month or two ago. It was the guy who was abducted by aliens.
Yep, I did. Yep, he's been doing about one a month where I have a guy on something with aliens. So we've really been enjoying that. Yeah, that's a wild one.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to ask him if he listened to the one with Jordan Burroughs.
I did listen to that one too. Yeah. I think Gable's going to be on the podcast soon. From what I've heard, I think Rogan's going to have Gable on.
We were trying to get him on. We were close last year, and then COVID happened, and it fell through the cracks, and never heard back from the guy who ran his website.
Yeah, he's a pretty busy guy still, even at his age. So he's hard to pin down. But I'm looking forward to hear that. I hope more of those things come out. Just so great for wrestling. Like how many people were exposed to the sport that way, and again in a positive way, not the weight cut, not any of this other stuff. It was about like this Jordan, that dude's super. Like if you had a kid and he was Jordan Burroughs, how happy would you be? Just the character and work ethic and all those things he has. Like such a great representation for our sport and people to see that side of wrestling, not the negative things that they hear reported on the news. So great for the sport.
I just remembered something. Back when we were talking about innovating, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about things to be grateful for. But one of the things about being grateful for coming from wrestling is all the innovation that has come out in the last year in terms of how to put on events, and almost, we've got they had the RTC Cup, and now there's the America's Cup going on. It's almost like we're on the verge of having like a real professional wrestling league where wrestlers don't necessarily have to go to MMA to make money. They can stay in their sport and they can be successful and they can train and they can make money. So that, I lost my train of thought, but came back in, and that being grateful for the innovation that's come in the last 12 months for wrestling and how it's gaining more notoriety.
Yeah, and I really don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say I really think we're going to look back during this time and realize that the professionalization of wrestling started during this pandemic time. And I think it's going to be one of the best things that has ever happened for the sport. I mean, that's one of the reasons a lot of kids get in sports. They want to, even though it's such a pipe dream, I want to be a professional baseball player. Well, if there's a professional wrestler, like a real professional wrestler, we're going to keep more people around. Yeah. So I think it's one of the best things that's happened in sport. And I'll do anything I can to help support it and make it grow. I think we're going to look back on it and be like, the game changed in 2020.
Sure hope so.
Coach, one last thing. Can I have you say this is Lee Roper and you're listening to Airey Bros Radio? Coach, thank you so much. Talk to you all day. Appreciate your story and your journey so much. Keep doing your thing. You keep these two dudes from Jersey going, knowing that you're out there chasing your dream, making it happen. So thank you for your time tonight, and keep on keeping on.
You guys do the same, man. Like, we're kindred spirits here, man. You keep fueling my sales, winning my sales too. You guys keep doing it. Love the passion. Anytime you need somebody to come on and run their mouth about some nonsense, hit me up, man. I'll jump on with you guys. Appreciate what you do. Thank you a bunch.
Absolutely. Guys. And when you're ready to run that 100-mile race, I'm your guy.
I hear you, man. I appreciate that a bunch. Y'all have a good one. All right.
Thanks. Take care, Lee.
Night, guys.